Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. Mike Veach to my left, I'm Mark Asano. Our thanks once again go out to Hal Wiggins for having joined us. Now to introduce our final guest of the morning, here's Michael.
Pleasure to have him with us this morning, Mark, and Don Lucarelli for the last few years. It seems like every time there's been a big day of racing, Don has been there or thereabouts and being interviewed on this show with one of his Grade 1 performers. He's going 3 times to the well today with Edgar Prado each time. But the big one, of course, is take the points in the Preakness. So, Don, if you're there, welcome back to the familiar and friendly confines of the OTB studio in Schenectady, New York.
Well, I'm glad to be back, Mike and Mark. Hopefully it means something's going to go right, you know.
Well, it has quite a bit. Don, we are pleased to have you this morning. Take the Points is going to be in the Preakness this afternoon for you and Starlight Partners. And I'm going to begin, as our audience actually takes a look at his race at Gulfstream Park at the end of January. Don, Take the Points was going well on dirt. Some would say very well. Why the decision to go to California off the big race at Gulfstream Park?
Well, we could have ran in the Fountain of Youth and then tried to follow it up with the Florida Derby, but then being the Fountain of Youth was a one-turn race.
Okay.
We needed to get 2 turns into this horse, and you can't do that at Gulfstream really until the Florida Derby.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to head out west where Todd had a string of horses, and being by mare Ginger, we felt that he would handle the synthetic, and so we decided to go out there for the Sham, which was a 2-turn, and then hopefully either stay there for the Santa Anita Derby or come back in the Bluegrass and have enough, foundation from a distance standpoint on our side.
Well, Don, that's very interesting because, some of the written remarks about Take the Points have a pedigree question, but you're telling us today that you were actively looking for 2-turn experience for this guy.
Yeah, we felt that, the horse should be able to get the distance, and the way he was striding and everything, Todd felt that, it would be a good opportune time to try and stretch him out and see what we had. And we knew he could run on dirt.
Mm-hmm.
That was never a question. So we decided to take that route, and actually out there, he's had a lot of last-minute decisions, so he's had a lot thrown at him, but we think that it was the right decision, and when we ran him in the Santa Anita Derby at with little notice at the last second, I think it ended up for us being the right thing because we did end up getting an extra couple of weeks rest out of this deal.
Don, there was some time before the Kentucky Derby about him being on the bubble and maybe or maybe not going. Was there any serious consideration given to that?
Actually, we decided at one point, I think it was on Monday, that we were going to run.
Okay.
And then after getting everybody together and huddling up and coming up with a game plan, we just felt that it was better from a timing standpoint. And our experience in the Derby really hasn't been all that good. We've had horses come out, banged up with chips, body sore. So we just sort of let that be the deciding factor and said, let's just wait for the Preakness. But then again, we didn't know we were going to run into a super filly and have so many of the Derby starters come back.
Don, this is interesting. He has had, at least to my eye, several really, really good works coming into this race. Is that the feeling there in your camp?
Basically, there's two thoughts that we have, and I was there for a couple of the works at Churchill. When Alex Solis got off the horse in the Santa Anita Derby, he felt that the horse needed blinkers.
Okay.
And when we put the blinkers on the horse for the works, all 3 of his works, I mean, he easily picked up 2 to 3 lengths, I think, and there was a big difference in the horse from a standpoint of being alert and paying attention and being, a little bit keen. And so that and the fact that we're getting back on dirt, and naturally I don't think that if there is any moisture in the track, it won't affect him because he seems to like the, a little bit of softness and water.
Don, how are you with post position 11?
No, actually, we would have probably preferred to be 7 or in,
Okay.
based on the crown of the track and a few other factors of the distance and where it is. But we do have tactical speed, and we're going to have to use some of that to get in position before the first turn. And that's what we'll have to do. We'll just have to see how the big filly breaks from the start. And it's Edgar, who knows that course quite well. That's where he paid his dues to make the decision.
Don, one final question on Take the Points, then we'll talk about Manba and Checklist. Tell me, if you will, tell our audience your gut feeling about things as we speak, 6 or 7 hours before the big race.
I truly do think that we really have a good possibility of being there at the finish. I think when it comes to the stretch, even though we'll be forwardly placed on a track that is speed favoring with its tight turns, that we'll be in position, to have a good chance of being in the photo for at least first, second, third, hopefully for the whole thing. I do think that Pioneer of the Nile is still sitting on a big race, and I think Frisian Fire, who just totally got destroyed in the Kentucky Derby race, will be tough.
Well, Don, we'll switch gears and switch surfaces for Manba, your winner of the Bluegrass last year. He's in the Dixie Handicap today on turf going 9 furlongs. Talk about selecting this for his turf debut.
Yeah, well, we sent him out to California also with the hopes of getting him on the turf out at Santa Anita, and then it got rained off, so he ended up running on the Poly, which he did run okay, and then he did run a real good race in the Santa Anita Handicap against Einstein, and was coming back on near the end. But we've always wanted to try and see, we know he's not really a good dirt horse per se, and he's a terrible worker in the morning, but he just seems to know what to do in the afternoon. So we're hoping that the turf is going to wake him up and that he can find another career being on what Mark calls the proper surface.
We hope it is today. And finally, your 3-year-old Checklist, Don. He's in the Hearst Jacobs today at Pimlico. And a couple of questions about him. He's got a really classy pedigree, and $400,000 tells that story at the Keeneland September sale. His mom's a Delaware Oaks winner. So question number 1 for Checklist, are you somewhat surprised he's turned out at this stage to be a sprinter?
Yeah, we didn't think this would be, his career, but it is definitely, early on Todd saw that, the way he was striding and everything, that he didn't seem like he wanted to go a distance. So when he won his 6 and 6.5 furlong races, we tried to stretch him out a little further in the Derby trial, and, he ran a gutsy race. He was right up there all the way, pressured on the pace, and then Hull, who actually came from a little bit off of it, just went by everybody. But we think that cutting back to 6 furlongs, we need to just win some stakes races with him, and with his pedigree, he'll be worth some money.
And our audience is watching them go into the stretch turn there, Don. Second on the outside. Finally, with Checklist, if things go well today, will Checklist be in your New York division late this spring and summer?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Checklist and Take the Points, being good dirt horses, that's where I want to see him run, is between Belmont and naturally Saratoga.
Well, Don, your partner here, Mark, has a question for you. Thanks so much this morning, Don.
Donnie, good morning.
Good morning, Mark.
Don, there is really no shortage of opinions on Rachel Alexandra running against the boys in today's Preakness, and I know you have some strong feelings. Please tell our audience what they are.
Yeah, well, I was the other day at breakfast, the alibi breakfast that they have here at Pimlico. Naturally, Dave Brennick, who writes for the Racing Form, asked me a question, and I've never been one to not express my feelings, and I just told him how I felt, and that is that I don't have a problem running against a horse, but I just feel that the owners and the connections made a knee-jerk decision. You know, within 24 hours of purchasing the filly, they decided that they're running in the Preakness off of a 2-week rest, and I just don't think that that is the proper decision to make. I think that they should have gave the horse time and pointed her towards the Belmont or the Haskell and given her her best shot to do and show her talents, which, I mean, she may blow the field away by 10 lengths today, but I don't think you're putting her in position to give her her best shot to show how she can do against the boys. I mean, it's hard enough as it is, let alone bring her back in 2 weeks. And, you know, even though she won that race in the Kentucky Oaks very easily, she still had to prep for it, and she had to run the race. So I just don't think, I think it was more of a decision for the owner's own sake instead of the horses.
Don, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it, and appreciate you once again having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. All the best with Take the Points in the Preakness, and with Manba, first time proper surface in the Dixie and with Checklist. Have a great day, and good luck.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And thank you
Don.
very much, Don.
Don Lucarelli, ladies and gentlemen, live from Baltimore. All right, we are up to our final break on this morning's Preakness Day edition of the show. Thank you so much for having joined us. When Michael and I return, we will go to Baltimore, and Dave Rodman will give you the scratches and the changes on this lengthy card on Preakness Day, which begins with a first post at 10:15. Then Michael and I will look at the field for the 134th Preakness Stakes and give you our selection. So all of that and much, much more coming up right after these messages.